my name is Paul Lloyd Davis. Today we're looking at skill transfer exercise, STEs. These are part of a larger system known as performance-led development skill strength. STEs are something which I've been working and developing for over 6 years, and they are a training tool that allows athletes and coaches to utilise movements or manoeuvres or chains of manoeuvres taken from specific sports or operational activities. They're designed to ensure the greatest transfer and skill acquisition. They are something which can replace the use of traditional plyometric exercises that are often paired with resistance exercises in a form of training referred to as complex training. Now today we're looking at STEs, and so I don't want to go too deeply into complex training, but there is a considerable debate about the benefits of complex training. One school of thought believe that by combining resistance training with the traditional low or medium intensity plyometric movements, athletes are able to elicit the greatest gains, because there is a phenomena identified and known as post-activation potentation, which means that after a resistance type exercise with concentric activity taking place, a fast power movement will enable the greatest transfer of both strength and power and make complex training a very effective and specific form of training which is often used today in professional rugby. We need as well, when reviewing STE, skill transfer exercises, to be aware of another school of thought and training modality known as dynamic correspondence. Here exercises are designed to give the same firing patterns in terms of motor units and the same physiological demands on the neuromuscular system as would be met or found in the sport-specific activity. In relation to dynamic correspondence, if you have a very experienced strength and conditioning coach, and if the movement concerned can be simulated in a resistance format, this can be an extremely useful high-level training modality. However, if the coach devising the exercise has to overcome too many problems because the exercise movement is very complex or doesn't lend itself well to the use of weights, it can be very hard to devise a weights resistance exercise that will match the exact velocity and movement patterns found in the sport. So if you attach a cable to a tennis racket, you're never going to have the tennis player using the racket with a resistance placed on the racket in the same way that they would in a real match. Skill transfer exercise allow the use of movements, whole or part, which exactly match or are taken from the sport or operational activity involved. So, in the context of someone who's in the services with a pack on their back having to jump up onto a higher level piece of road or barrier, then by training them with appropriate loadings to utilise a counter movement, you can encourage them to get a better jump, better technique, and by use of digital cameras you can easily measure and watch and get a real assessment of the amount of skill that's being elicited, enabling better coaching and a more focused approach in terms of that individual's performance. The same applies in relation to specific sports. In rugby, in martial arts, specifically jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts and wrestling, skill strength and skill transfer exercise allow athletes to gain safe ways of combining resistance training whilst learning how to move plyometrically. It places the plyometric element that is found in complex training firmly within the environment and context, manoeuvre or chain of manoeuvres involved in that specific sport. Let's now look at a few examples of skill transfer exercise. You'll see that because the exercise often involves another individual or the performance of a sport-specific task, it's particularly relevant to intermediate and advanced athletes who, by virtue of their skill levels and their physiological attributes, are proven to need more specificity in their training if they are to gain and advance, whereas a less skilled individual can generally gain and advance from nearly any good form of training modality. Let's have a look at a few examples of STEs.